Hey YouTube, what's up? Dr. T here in St. Petersburg, Florida, and fun today with Hyperloop, as there is a company called, what are they called? They're called Hyperloop Transport Technologies, independent from Hyperloop and Tesla and whatever, and they are doing some stuff, and it's been announced that a study begins on the first Hyperloop to cross the US state line. So we'll read a little bit and then go find out what this company is all about. There are quite a few feasibility studies being carried out with regard to potential Hyperloop systems, but another announced today might be of interest to US folks that like the sound of subsonic ground travel, particularly those in Illinois and Ohio. It's a startup company, Hyperloop Transportation Technologies. So we have a startup company whose name is Hyperloop Transport Technologies, has signed an agreement with local authorities to start investigating an interstate system for the first time in the US, a tube that would link the cities of Cleveland and Chicago. So this in essence has nothing whatsoever to do directly with Hyperloop. It's the internal workings of one of these state lines presented at the global challenge thing that is moving things along on their own. Hyperloop Transport Technologies, along with Virgin Hyperloop, is one of the bigger names in the Hyperloop game. The latter has a lot more tangible progress to show for its work, with a test track set up in the Nevada desert, along with full-scale passenger pods and a 200+ miles per hour test run under its belt. Hyperloop Transport Technologies has none of the above, but what it does have is a whole lot of agreements with governments around the world to study the feasibility of Hyperloop systems. So let's go find out a little bit more about them. So we want to go look them up and see who they are. So they have a website. It is Hyperloop Global, and there is an announcement on Hyperloop Global. It's just the same thing as we've just read above. Hyperloop TT signs first US feasibility study from Cleveland to Chicago. The future of mobility starts with Hyperloop T. Now they've got a bunch of little minuets here, so let's go and have a look at those because it describes where they came from. Hyperloop Transport Technologies Incorporated reveals vibranium, what a name, skin material for capsule safety, and announces digital innovation challenge. Well, there's too much here for this little post. So they've oh, here we go. We'll go about Hyperloop Transportation Technologies Incorporated, founded in 2013 by Jump Starter Incorporated, utilizing Jump Starter's crowd collaboration platform, Jump Start Fund. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies Incorporated designs, manufactures and builds the most highly profitable, fastest, safest, environmentally friendly transport system for passenger and goods. Well, that's their potential of what they're going to be doing. They haven't done it yet. It's just their little marketing thing. Hyperloop Transport Technologies leverages technology and a team of more than 520 global experts to bring disruptive innovation to the traditional transportation industry. Hyperloop first gained public interest when entrepreneur Elon Musk published a detailed white paper describing a futuristic mode of transport that would move people from Los Angeles to Transit. Now, this is kind of interesting because Hyperloop have just gone through this global challenge to get people to bring their suggestions in regard to loops that might be worth building. Now we have this separate company here who's stepping up to the plate to do some, I guess, preemptive evaluation of putting this stuff together. So let's see what else they do. We'll get rid of that. We know a little bit about them. So find out a bit more. Do a little bit of digging, find out stuff, see? Hyperloop Transportation Technologies surpasses 100 million in total investment. Hyperloop Transportation Technologies (HTT) announces investment total more than 100 million, including an equity investment of 31.8 million and a total in-kind and land value investment of 77 million. Well, we'll take a look at this a little bit anyway. I'm just going to scan. I don't want to spend all day on it. So they're a new company and they've got some funding to do whatever they're going to do. That's as much as we need to know about them right now. And we'll move on to the next thing. Agreement signed in Abu Dhabi Department of Transportation. Well, we came across this earlier. So they're involved with that. Abu Dhabi on Monday, December 12, 2016, in line with Abu Dhabi government long-term vision and plan, the Department of Municipal Affairs and Transportation announced an agreement with Hyperloop Transport Technologies. So they interacted with Hyperloop Transport Technologies to do this feasibility study. So we can see how the mechanics of this is working. Hyperloop is going to build the system. These people are the analogous part of the ecosystem that's necessary to bring this together into a collaborative world of getting the actions actually doing something. So that's that. So agreement with the city of Toulouse, agreement with other places. This is worth looking at. First full-scale passenger Hyperloop capsule is being built. Hyperloop Transportation Technology begins capsule construction for delivery in early 2018. Interesting. So we needn't read all this lot. It's got some dimensions and it's got a little blurb. So we'll just, there's more about them. I think it's the same blurb as before. Okay, so we're up to date with who they are. Startup, they've got funding, and this is what they're focusing on. And this is their little video. So let's go and take a look at their video and dingle that out.
Our dream of creating the next breakthrough in transportation takes a big step forward today.
Carburis is a consolidated leader in the structural composites world with over 15 years of experience in developing and manufacturing structural composites. With over 1,000 employees, 8 manufacturing plants and 5 engineering centers, it is the perfect partner for HTT to capitalize on this knowledge and become one of our great partners.
This is a fascinating project for us, and we will show our expertise, our technology around the world.
Using passive magnetic levitation and a low-pressure tube, we are building a safer, more efficient way to move people forward.
Stop that for a second. Now, here's another collaboration within the whole ecosystem. We've got this Hyperloop Transport Technologies. Now they have some kind of agreement with some manufacturing organization who are going to enable them to deal with some of their things. So it's quite a complex business, but it's all kind of evolving and folding over all at once.
And now, 3 years later, after countless designs and thousands of hours, we're turning our dream into reality. We're building the first full-scale passenger Hyperloop capsule in the world.
So that's interesting. Let's break out of there. We're going to shut this thing down. So that was interesting. And then there's just another agreement. So let's wander down their web page. We can expand this. There's a look at their prospective capsule that they're building. So that they've got Hyperloop, who've got their own capsule for testing on their test track. And we know that they've got a test track that's a few hundred meters long, and they've got to go a lot longer to get it up to 700 miles. So that's going to be their big challenge is to get their own test track, wherever that be, whether it's in Nevada, get it out to a length where they can accelerate their tube, developmental tube, Hyperloop developmental tube, up to 700 miles an hour. They've got to demonstrate the technology of the levitation and the speed. These people are developing their own Hyperloop pod, prospectively for use in the real world, different from a test system. So they're developing this Hyperloop pod, which is presumably going to be in agreement with Hyperloop that's going to be used. So Hyperloop doesn't have to do all the work. Their issue is building the infrastructure of the vacuum tube and enabling it to actually carry this thing to the high speeds, which is what they're developing. And these people are developing an alternative, or maybe the real loop, the real tube that's going to be used. So we learn a little bit more about that. And the structure. So here they have this architectural structure of how these things will be going in two directions at the same time, presumably. It's got some stuff down here, but we don't need to deal with that. We just want to get the big picture right now. That's where you get some understanding of what's going on behind the scenes, because that's all happening at the same time. You can see Hyperloop are being involved in. Their next step is to lengthen their track, increase the speed of their capsule, their tube thing. And these people are developing their infrastructure of this capsule, and now getting into an evaluation of the first system in the US that's going to presumably is going to come about. And these are just visions of what it's going to be. So this is a vision that they foresee of a terminal station. Now this is something that Hyperloop isn't involved in at all. Their involvement is the entity itself, the track. This is the on-ramp, off-ramp situation, where actually they're envisioning what a Hyperloop transportation station would look like, because they're going to be transporting. It potentially can transport cars, it can transport people, it can transport goods. So this is, I guess, a schematic of what might be a station for a Hyperloop interactive system. So we get a little bit of a picture of that. Whether that comes about is another matter, but that's what's going on all at the same time. So we can move down, whether there's anything more to see. We are mobilizing humanity in a different way, building breakthrough innovation in crowd-powered ecosystems. So this is their network of people building, I presume it suggests that they might be building the on-ramp, off-ramp stations, which will be connected to a Hyperloop system. Who's actually going to be building that now is kind of not clear, whether it's going to be Hyperloop or whatever, but we'll find out. I mean, this is just a developmental stage. So what's this? Join the global team of brilliant thinkers and partners. So it suggests that there's a lot of stuff going on out there. That's quite interesting. Yeah, so we'll go back to the original news item over here. I think we've more or less covered everything. Let's carry on down, because I got to here, got to there, got to there. Okay, so here we are. The agreement involves HTT, the Northern Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency, and the Illinois Department of Transportation, and has already identified a number, I wish they get their English right, and has already identified a number of potential paths a Hyperloop could take between Cleveland and Chicago, a 5.5 hour trip by car that could be cut to 30 minutes. HTP also bills it as the first real public-private partnership. There's one thing that comes to mind here. This is going to cost billions. Well, where are you going to get your money back? If one of these trips cost you as much as an airline ticket, like $150 or $200 a trip, well, they're never going to get the money back. So it kind of begs the question, how this evolves as an investment, but that's beside the point. It's just a curiosity. Regulations are the ultimate barrier for Hyperloop implementation, and we are excited to build the first real public-private partnership to bring Hyperloop travel to the US, says their CEO. With this agreement, we welcome innovative and industry leaders, leading partners in both government and industry to our movement. So, okay. And they've got a little spiel, which will be, that's my phone ringing, it's just rubbish. So we've got their little spiel, so watch this.
Where do you go to make dreams? To build them with metal and glass in your own two hands.
Go away, silly thing.
You go to cities unafraid of work and people known for making things. Big things like aviation and smaller things like tanks. You go to cities like Cleveland and Chicago, places that have had dreams and then made them. And that's why we can't wait to build America's first Hyperloop here. Flying 700 miles an hour through a tube using magnets and sunlight isn't a dream. It's a we're building this thing. First stop, Cleveland to Chicago in under 30 minutes.
Well, that was interesting. That was very interesting. A little bit of research there, and we found out something. So I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to find out what's going on with Hyperloop and the whole evolution of this new technology. Take care, YouTube, and I'll see you somewhere